Hi everybody. I want to talk to you today about my book, The Six Sisters and Their Flying Carpets. There is another video of me reading the entire book, which you can watch before you watch this, or you can watch this first. I don't really care. This is more of a background on writing the book and some ideas that are sort of buried in the book. This book was inspired by a photograph that my friend Damon took on his photography blog, which he titled The Six Sisters and Their Magic Carpets. I decided to change that to The Six Sisters and Their Flying Carpets for reasons I'll explain in just a second. It wasn't until a few years later that I realized that the photograph that Damon took was the same two girls in a triple exposure. I didn't realize that the first time that I saw it, but it doesn't really matter because I got the idea for the book, so that's good. So I am a snowboard instructor, and one of the things that we learn as we are training for teaching snowboarding is different teaching and learning styles. There are some basics that we cover. One of those is the learning styles that people have, how they like to learn. We break it up into watchers, doers, thinkers, feelers. Watchers are the ones who obviously like to see you demonstrate things. They like to watch it happen and then they'll try it themselves. Doers are the ones who don't listen to you and simply go and do it. Thinkers are the ones who like to have it all explained to them. They're the people who read the instruction manual. The feelers are interesting because they have to feel their body move through the motion in order to understand what it is they're trying to learn. So that's sort of a basic breakdown of some things that we talk about in snowboard instruction or ski instruction or any instruction really, if you're dealing with physical motion. This book, I got the idea for this book from my friend's picture, obviously, but then I had the idea to bring in these areas of abilities. Now, Dr. Howard Gardner of Harvard University has a whole theory of all these multiple abilities, and you can look them up online and see how that works. But he breaks down all these abilities into 8 different areas, and I used those in the making of this book. So I'm just going to go over what his areas are and quick little definition of each one, and then we'll talk about how they relate to the people in the book. The first one is mathematical logical. People with high mathematical logical abilities are good at math and working with numbers. They like to solve problems in a structured, organized way. So that's area number 1. The second one is linguistic. People with high linguistic abilities are good with words and language. They like reading, writing, and telling stories. They can also be good at memorizing things. People who like language. The next 2 are a little confusing. They're interpersonal and intrapersonal. You can think of them as like interpersonal, like interstate highways. They go between states. They bridge things together. Intrapersonal, sort of like intramural sports, where it's within a college or high school that you're playing these competitions. So interpersonal, people with high interpersonal abilities are good at being social and understanding others. They like to work in groups and enjoy talking with other people to solve problems. Intrapersonal, people with high intrapersonal abilities have a very good understanding of themselves. They know what their strengths and weaknesses are, and they know how they'll react in many situations. The next one is kinesthetic, kind of a weird word, but it basically means athleticism. People with high kinesthetic abilities are very smart with how they move their bodies. They are good at sports and athletic activities and have the body control to dance, act, and build things. The next one is musical. People with high musical abilities understand music, tones, and beats. It's easy for these people to learn music, keep time, and create melodies. They might like to learn in a listening, repetitive way. Get them dancing down the hill. The next one is visual spatial. People with high visual spatial abilities are good at imagining things that don't exist or taking objects and turning them around in their heads. Visual spatial abilities are useful for carpenters to see a final project before they build it. They can kind of think about things and like, oh, I get that, I can see that. And the last one is natural. People with high natural abilities understand the natural world. They are good farmers, and they are the people who are said to have a green thumb. Great parents have high natural intelligence and can raise great children. So those are the Howard Gardner's areas of abilities, and they relate to this book in this way. Obviously, if you've read the book, you'll know that the sisters all try to teach the prince how to fly a magic carpet. Excuse me, a flying carpet. And they all do it in different ways. So the first one is Caroline, and she is mathematical logical. She uses numbers and altitude and geometry and physics, and she tries to figure out how to make that carpet fly. And the prince can't figure it out. The next one is Alicette. She uses words. She uses the magic words, she uses language, and she tries to get the carpet to fly that way, and the prince, that doesn't work for him either. So the next two are Mina and Koki. They're the interpersonal and intrapersonal, knowing themselves, knowing other people, being social. I've never decided which one is which. They're the twins, so one is one and one is the other, and you can figure out which one it is if you want. The next one is Suriko, the athlete. So she's the kinesthetic ability. She just jumps on the carpet and moves her body and makes it move that way. And that doesn't work for the prince either. And the last one is Narelle, who is the musical. Her ability is music. She sings a little song to make the carpet fly, and doesn't work for the prince at all. So that's the 6 sisters and what abilities they have. There's 2 more. So I assigned those to Mama and Papa. So Papa is the visual spatial. So he's the carpenter. He builds things. He can see how things work in space. So Mama is the great mother and the gardener. She has the natural abilities. She understands how things grow. So that's how all those 8 ability areas fit in with the 6 sisters and Mama and Papa. Obviously, the prince has no abilities whatsoever, but that's okay. Something to remember about all these abilities is nobody has one and not the others. Nobody is just categorized into one area and doesn't have it. Everyone has little bits of all of them. Some are good at a few of them and not so good at others. Some are good at maybe one and not so good at some. Sort of have the same abilities all the way across the board. So you're not trying to pigeonhole anybody. It's just a way of looking at how people are good at things. I've made a PDF with some worksheets which you can download. I'll put a link down there that you can get those. And it's some information on maybe getting your students, if you have students who are reading this book, to figure out how they would like to fly a carpet and what areas of abilities they think they're good at and not good at. So that's that. That's sort of how this book came together. Some things about the book itself. The illustrator, Kristen Abbott, I found an agent who handled illustrators, and I found an illustrator that I liked, sent him some of my books. He wasn't that interested in them. So the agent said, is there any other illustrator who might work? And I liked Kristen Abbott's work, and so sent her a couple of the stories, and she really loved this one. And she thought of it as an anti-fairy tale, how the sisters, don't end up with the prince at the end, and they're fine just to live on their own and fly their carpets. So because she was so interested in it, I decided this would be my first published book. It's not the first one that I wrote, but it's the first one that I published. And that's how that came to be. I should tell you that I was mentioning how my friend Damon's photograph was called The Six Sisters and Their Magic Carpets, and I changed it to Flying Carpets. And the reason was, at the very end of the book, I was originally going to have the book end with, currently the book ends with, Mama and Papa flung open the doors and windows and the six sisters flew out into the springtime air. So originally there was going to be a little tag there at the end where it talks about the prince never being able to get his flying carpets to fly. And the last line was going to be, because of course the carpets weren't magic, the sisters were. And a friend of mine convinced me to drop that line out because it's implied. You should be able to figure out that, oh, it's not the carpets that are magic, it's the sisters who have the magic, because they can fly anything. They can sit on the old bathroom rug and fly that just as well. So that's a lot of information about this book. I hope it was interesting. I hope you learned something, and I hope you can take this and expand upon it with people or students that you have. So thank you for listening to me blabber on about abilities.